beneath the ancient waters of the Euphrates River, according to the book of Revelation, 4 angelic beings have been bound in chains since the beginning of human history, not fallen, not wandering, imprisoned, waiting for a single predetermined moment to be released upon the earth. And Scripture tells us exactly what happens when that moment comes. The river is drying, ancient structures are emerging from the mud, and a prophecy written 2,000 years ago may be unfolding before our eyes. This is not mythology. This is written in Revelation chapter 9. 4 angels, bound at the great river Euphrates, their release tied to a specific hour, a specific day, a specific month, and a specific year. But why would divine beings be imprisoned? What did they do that required chains instead of exile? And why this river, one of the oldest waterways in human civilization, flowing through the lands where Eden is said to have begun? Tonight, we descend into one of the Bible's most cryptic warnings, a prophecy that names a place, describes a moment, and reveals a mission that will alter the fate of a third of mankind. This is the mystery of the angels imprisoned in the Euphrates. Revelation chapter 9, verse 14. An order is given. A voice from the golden altar commands the 6th angel, "Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." These are not metaphors. The text names the river. It specifies 4 beings, and it reveals their purpose. They have been prepared for the hour and day and month and year to kill a third of mankind, not to tempt, not to deceive, to kill. This is not spiritual warfare in the abstract. This is judgment with a body count. The passage continues. The army they lead numbers 200 million. Fire, smoke, and brimstone pour from their ranks, and a third of humanity falls. But here is where the mystery deepens. The verse does not say these angels will be prepared. It says they have been prepared, past tense, meaning their release was determined long before the ink dried on the scroll, before Rome fell, before kingdoms rose, a moment locked into the architecture of time itself. So who are they? And what did they do to deserve imprisonment instead of the abyss? Scholars have debated this for centuries. Some believe they are fallen angels, rebellious celestial beings who sided with Lucifer and were bound as punishment. But others note something unusual. These 4 are not cast into the lake of fire. They are not wandering the earth. They are chained at a specific location, waiting for a specific task. This has led many theologians to connect them with the Watchers, the angels described in the book of Enoch and briefly mentioned in Genesis chapter 6. The Watchers descended to earth before the flood. They took human wives. They taught forbidden knowledge. They corrupted the bloodline of man. And according to Enoch, they were bound in chains of darkness until the day of judgment. But here is where it becomes strange. In Enoch, most Watchers are imprisoned in the valleys of the earth, yet these 4 are bound at the Euphrates. Why separate them? Why this river? Some ancient texts suggest these 4 were ringleaders, commanders among the rebellious host. Others believe they were set apart because their sin was not merely rebellion, but conspiracy. They did not just fall, they planned something. And whatever they planned required their containment at the source of civilization itself. Because the Euphrates is not just any river. It is the river that flowed through Eden, the border of ancient Babylon, the cradle where humanity's oldest cities were born. If you wanted to imprison something at the heart of human history, this is where you would do it. The Euphrates River is mentioned 52 times in Scripture, more than any other river except the Jordan. It marks the eastern boundary of the Promised Land. It flows through the lands of Babel, Ur, and Nineveh, cities where empires rose and fell, where languages were scattered, where the first ziggurats reached toward heaven. And it is here, according to Revelation, that 4 angelic beings have been held in supernatural chains for millennia. But why this location? Some theologians point to Genesis 2:14, where the Euphrates is named as one of the 4 rivers flowing out of Eden. If Eden was the place where humanity's story began, perhaps the Euphrates became the place where humanity's judgment was prepared. Others note the river's role in prophecy. Isaiah and Jeremiah speak of armies crossing it in the last days. Revelation itself mentions it again in chapter 16, where it dries up to make way for the kings of the east. And then there are the discoveries. In recent years, as water levels have dropped, ancient structures have emerged from the riverbed, ruins that predate recorded history, artifacts that do not fit the established timeline, and local legends of beings sealed beneath the waters, stories told for thousands of years, long before Revelation was written. It is as if the river itself is a seal, and when it dries, something buried beneath will surface. Here is what makes this prophecy unlike any other. Revelation 9:15 states that these angels were prepared for the hour, and day, and month, and year. Not a general season, not an era, a specific moment. In the original Greek, this phrase emphasizes precision. The definite article appears before each unit of time: the hour, the day, the month, the year, meaning God did not leave their release to chance. He appointed it, locked it into the cosmic calendar before the foundation of the world. This suggests something staggering. Somewhere in the flow of human history, there exists a moment, marked by heaven, invisible to man, when these 4 beings will be unchained. Not because conditions are right, not because humanity has sinned enough, but because the clock strikes the appointed time. And when it does, they will fulfill the purpose for which they were bound. Not wandering, not aimless, they will execute judgment with military precision. 200 million strong. A third of mankind falls. But here is the question that haunts every scholar who studies this passage. Has that moment already been set? Is it written on some divine scroll, hidden in the mind of God? And if so, could we be approaching it now? In 2021, satellite images revealed something unprecedented. The Euphrates River was drying at an accelerating rate. Water levels dropped to historic lows. Entire sections of the riverbed became exposed for the first time in modern history. And then the discoveries began. Ancient settlements emerged from the silt, structures dating back thousands of years, artifacts that archaeologists had no record of. In Syria, a Bronze Age city appeared, submerged for centuries, now visible under open sky. Some dismissed it as drought, climate patterns, political water diversion, but others noted the timing. Revelation chapter 16, verse 12, speaks of the Euphrates drying up in the last days, not as metaphor, as event. And while no one claims these angels have been released, the symbolism is impossible to ignore. The river that holds them is vanishing, the seal is weakening, and the world watches, unknowing, as prophecy edges closer to fulfillment. But let us be clear. This is not about fear. This is about understanding. If these beings are real, if they are truly bound beneath these waters, then their release is not random chaos. It is judgment, divine, controlled. Part of a plan set in motion long before we existed, and that changes everything. To understand why these angels are bound, we must return to the beginning. Before the flood, before the Tower of Babel, before the nations were scattered. Genesis 6:1-4 speaks of the sons of God taking the daughters of men as wives. Their offspring were the Nephilim, beings of great power and violence. And the earth, Scripture says, was filled with corruption and wickedness. The book of Enoch expands this account. It names the Watchers, 200 angels who descended to Mount Hermon and made a pact. They would abandon their heavenly station. They would corrupt humanity, and they would teach forbidden knowledge, weapons, sorcery, cosmetics, astrology, and the secrets of the earth. God's response was swift. The flood. The Watchers were bound in chains. Their hybrid offspring were destroyed, and the world was reset. But not all Watchers were imprisoned in the same place. Some were cast into Tartarus, the deep abyss. Others were scattered. But these four at the Euphrates, were set apart, reserved, held not for immediate judgment, but for future execution. Why? Because their purpose was not yet finished. They were not destroyed. They were stored, kept in reserve for a specific moment in the timeline of human history, a moment when their release would serve divine justice in ways we cannot yet fully comprehend. They are not free, but they are prepared. Here is the truth that most overlook. These angels are not imprisoned because they are dangerous. They are imprisoned because they are useful. God could have destroyed them, cast them into the lake of fire with the devil and his angels, but he did not. Instead, he bound them at the Euphrates, prepared them for a specific hour, and wrote their release into the prophetic calendar of Revelation. This means their imprisonment is not punishment, it is preparation. They are instruments of judgment, weapons held in reserve. And when the moment comes, when that precise hour, day, month, and year arrives, they will be released to fulfill a purpose ordained before time began. This is not chaos. This is design. The four angels bound in the Euphrates are proof that even rebellion, even judgment, even the darkest forces are under the sovereign control of God. They do not escape their chains until He permits it, and when He does, they will carry out His will, not their own. The drying river is not a coincidence. The ancient ruins surfacing from the mud are not accidents. They are reminders, whispers from the deep, signs that what was written is beginning to stir, and the world, distracted by wars and rumors of wars, has no idea what lies beneath. The angels imprisoned in the Euphrates are still bound, but the river is drying, the prophecy is written, and the hour draws near. If you found this investigation compelling, you need to see our previous episodes. The Dead Sea Scroll that reveals Noah's true origin uncovers shocking details about the bloodline of the patriarchs and what existed before Adam. The Bible's hidden truth explores the gap between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2 that most never notice. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on the notification bell, because the mysteries we are uncovering only go deeper from here. And leave a comment below. Do you believe these angels have already been prepared for release? Or is their moment still ahead? The next episode reveals something even more disturbing. A prophecy about the number of the beast that connects ancient Babylon, modern technology, and a mark that no one will be able to escape. The veil is lifting, and what lies beneath will change everything you thought you knew.